Good morning, page 453. Just as a common illness develops differently in different people, the effects of freedom upon us varied greatly, as closer inspection will show. Its physical effects, to begin with, some had overstrained themselves in the fight to end their time in the camps alive. They had endured it like all men of steel, consuming for 10 whole years a fraction of what the body requires, working and slaving, breaking stones half naked in freezing weather, and never catching cold. But once their sentence was served, once the inhuman pressure from outside was lifted, the tension inside them also slackened. Such people are destroyed by a sudden drop in pressure. The giant Ch07, who had never caught cold in 7 years as a lumberjack, contracted a variety of illnesses once he was freed. Ch07. After rehabilitation, my mental health, which had been the envy of my comrades in camp, steadily deteriorated. A succession of neuroses and psychoses. Igor Kamarov, after my release, I weakened and went to pieces. I seemed to find things much harder outside. There used to be a saying, the hard times brace you and the soft times drive you to drink. Sometimes a man's teeth would all fall out in a year. Sometimes he would grow old overnight. Another man's strength would give out as soon as he got home, and he would die burned out. Yet there were others who took heart when they were released. For them, it was time to grow younger and spread their wings. I, for one, still look younger than I did in the first photograph I had taken in exile. It comes as a sudden revelation. Life, after all, is so easy when you're free. There, on the archipelago, the force of gravity is quite different. Your legs are as heavy as an elephant's, but here they move as nimbly as a sparrow's. All the problems which tease and torment men who have always been free, we solve with a single click of the tongue. We had our own cheerful standards. Things have been worse. Things used to be worse, so now everything is quite easy. We never get tired of repeating it. Things have been worse. Things have been worse. But a pattern of a man's future may be even more firmly drawn by the emotional crisis he undergoes at the moment of release. This crisis can take very different forms. Only on the threshold of the guardhouse do you begin to feel that what you are leaving behind you is both your prison and your homeland. This was your spiritual birthplace, and a secret part of your soul will remain here forever. While your feet trudge on into the dumb and unwelcoming expanse of freedom, the camps bring out a man's character, but so does relief. This is how Vera Alexeyevna Kornaeva, whom we have met before in our story, took leave of a special camp in 1951. The 5-meter gates closed behind me, and although I could hardly believe it myself, I was weeping as I walked out to freedom. Weeping for what? I felt as though I had torn my heart away from what is dearest and most precious to it, from my comrades in misfortune. The gates closed, and it was all finished. I should never see those people again, never receive any news from them. It was as though I had passed on to the next world. To the next world, release as a form of death. Perhaps we had not been released. Perhaps we had died. to begin a completely new life beyond the grave. A somewhat ghostly existence in which we cautiously felt the objects about us, trying to identify them. Release into the world of the living had, of course, been thought of quite differently. We had pictured it as Pushkin did, and your brothers shall return your sword to you. But such happiness is the lot of very few generations of prisoners. It was as though our freedom excuse me. It was as though our freedom was stolen, not authentic. Those who felt like this seized their scrap of stolen freedom and ran with it to some lonely place. While in the camp, almost all my closest comrades thought, as I did, that if ever God allowed us to leave this camp alive, we would not live in towns or even in villages, but somewhere in the depths of the forest. We would find work as foresters, rangers, or failing that, as herdsmen, and stay as far away as we could from people, politics, and all the snares and delusions of the world. p453. For some time after he was discharged, Avner Barsov shunned other people and took refuge in the countryside. I felt like hugging and kissing every birch tree, every poplar, the rustle of fallen leaves. I was released in autumn. It was like music to me, and tears came to my eyes. I didn't give a damn that I only got 500 grams of bread. I could listen to the silence for hours on end, and read books too. Any sort of work seemed easy and simple now that I was free. The days flew by like hours. My thirst for life was unquenchable. If there is any happiness in the world at all, it is certainly that which comes to any Zek in the first year of his life as a free man. It is a long time before people like this want to own anything. They remember that property is easily lost, vanishes into thin air. They have an almost superstitious aversion to new things, going on wearing the same old clothes, sitting on the same old broken chairs. One friend of mine had furniture so rickety that there was nothing you could safely sit or lean on. They made a joke of it. This was the way to live, between camps. His wife had also been inside. L. Kovalev came back to Moscow in 1955 and made a discovery. I am ill at ease with successful people. I keep up an acquaintance only with those of my former friends who are in some way unlucky. But then, only those who decline to scramble up the career ladder are interesting as human beings. Nothing is more boring than a man with a career. But people vary, and many cross the line to freedom with quite different feelings, especially in the days when the Czech KGB seemed to be closing its eyes a little. Hurrah, I'm free. One thing I solemnly swear, never to land inside again. Now I'm going all out to make up for what I've missed. Some want to make up for the appointments they should have held, some for the titles, learned or military, they might have won, some for the money they could have earned and salted away. It is considered bad taste among us to talk about salaries or savings accounts, but this does not mean people don't keep track. Others want to make up for their unborn children. Others, well, Valentin M. swore to us in jail that when he got out he would make up for all the girls he had missed, and true enough, for some years he spent his days at work and all his evenings, even in midweek, with girls, different girls all the time. He slept only 4 or 5 hours a night, became wizened and old. Others want to catch up on meals or furniture or clothes, to forget how their buttons were cut off, how their best things were damaged beyond repair in the sterilization room of bathhouses. Once again, buying their favorite object became their favorite occupation. How can you blame them when they have indeed missed so much, when such a large slice has been cut out of their lives? These are the two reactions to freedom, and corresponding to them, two attitudes to the past. You have lived through years of horror. You are not a foul murderer, not a dirty swindler. So why should you try to forget prison and labor camp? Why need you be ashamed of them? Wouldn't it pay to think yourself the richer for them? Wouldn't it be more fitting to take pride in them? Yet so many, some of them neither weak nor stupid, people of whom you've not expected, do their best to forget as quickly as they can, to forget utterly and finally, to forget as though it had never happened. Why, G. Vendelstein? As a rule, you try not to remember. It's a defensive reflex. Pronman, to be honest, I didn't want to meet former inhabitants of the camps and be reminded of things. S.A. Lesovic. When I returned from the camp, I tried not to remember the past. And I very nearly, excuse me, I very nearly succeeded until she read one day the life of Ivan Denisovich as a Bondarin. I had known for a long time that in 1945 he had been in the same cell in the Lubyanka before me. I offered to give him the names not only of our cellmates, but of those with whom he had previously shared a cell, people I had never known at all. And this is the answer I got. I've tried to forget all those who were inside with me, and after that I did not, of course, even trouble to answer him. I can understand the Orthodox avoiding old acquaintances from the camps. They are sick of barking 1 against 100. Their memories are too painful. In any case, what would they want with those unclean Philistines? How can they call themselves loyal communists until they forget and forgive and return to their former condition? After all, they had humbly petitioned for it 4 times a year. Take me back, take me back. I've been good and I will be good. What did going back mean to them? Above all, recovering their party cards, their service records, their seniority, their merit awards. Vindicated, and as I take back my party card, a sun-warmed breeze caresses me. Camp experience is a scummy contagion of which they must quickly swab themselves clean. Sift it, sluice it, as long as you like. You will find not the tiniest grain of precious metal in your camp experience. Take the old Leningrad Bolshevik, Vasilyev. He had done 2 tenors, each with a 5-year muzzle, deprivation of civil rights. He was given a special pension by the Republic. I am fully provided for. All praise to my party and my people. Wonderful words. There has been nothing like this since Job glorified God. For his swords, the loss of his cattle, the famine, the deaths of his children, his humiliations, blessed be thy name. But he is no loafer, this Vasilyev, no mere passenger. I am a member of a commission for combating partisanism. Parasitism. Maybe the same thing. In other words, he putters away as far as his aging powers permit, contributing to one of the worst illegal abuses of the day. There you see it, the face of righteousness. It is equally understandable that stoolies have no wish to remember or to meet people. They fear exposure and reproach. But what about the rest? Aren't they taking servility too far? Is it a voluntary pledge they make for fear of landing inside again? Nastenka V, who landed in jail with a bullet wound, presses her fist to her temples and exclaims, "I want to forget it all like a hallucination, to escape from nightmarish visions of my past in those hellish camps." How could the classic scholar A.D., whose normal occupation was pondering over episodes in ancient history, how could he even command himself to forget it all? If he can do that, will he ever understand anything in the whole history of mankind? Yevgenia D., talking to me in 1965 about her spell in the Lubyanka in 1921 before her marriage, added, "But I never said a thing about it to my late husband. I forgot to tell the person closest to her, the person with whom she shared her life. Perhaps we need to be jailed more often. Or do you think I judge too harshly? Perhaps this is just normal behavior of average human beings. Proverbs, after all, are made up about people. If there's good luck tomorrow, you'll forget all your sorrow. As the punch grows, the memory goes. Yes, men lose their shape and their memories." My friend and co-defendant, Nikolai V., and Purell efforts that put us behind bars were as much his as mine. The recipient of his letter, I suppose. Intended recipient. Thought of his whole past as a curse. As the shameful failure of a foolish man, he plunged into scholarship, the safest of all occupations, hoping to mend his fortunes. In 1959, I started talking to him about Pasternak, who was still alive but hemmed in by his persecutors. He didn't want to hear about it. Oops. Never mind about all that rot. Just let me tell you about the fight I'm having in my department. He was always walking horns with somebody, looking for promotion, yet the tribunal had thought him worth 10 years in the camps. Perhaps one good flogging was all he deserved. Then there was Grigory M. He was discharged, his conviction was declared null and void, he was rehabilitated. They gave him his party card back. Nobody, of course, stops to ask whether you have started believing in Jehovah or Muhammad in the meantime. Nobody entertains the possibility that not one particle of your old beliefs has survived all that time. Here, take your party card. He passed through my town on its way back from Kazakhstan to his native Azure, and I met his train. What was he thinking of now? Hold on, could he be hoping to get back into some secret or specialist section? Our conversation was rather disjointed. He never wrote me another line. Or take F. Retz. Nowadays, he is the head of the Housing Bureau and also a member of a volunteer patrol for assisting the militia. He talks self-importantly about his present life, and although he has forgotten his old life, who could forget 18 years on the Kolyma? He talks about the Kolyma with much less feeling, wonderingly, as though not sure that it all really happened. Surely it couldn't have happened. He shed his past. He is sleek and satisfied with the world at large. The thief who goes straight and the ersatz political who forgets are much alike. Now that they are back in the fold, the world becomes comfortable again. It neither prickles nor pinches. Just as they used to think that everyone was inside, now they think that no one is inside. May Day and the anniversary of the revolution regain their old comfortable meaning. There are no longer those grim days on which we stood in the cold to be searched with more than the ordinary sadistic thoroughness. and were packed in greater numbers than usual into the congested cells in the camp jail. But never mind these grand occasions. If during this day's work the head of the family is praised by his bosses, it's a red-letter day, and dinner will be a feast. Only at home with his family does the sometime martyr permit himself an occasional grumble. Only there does he occasionally remember to make them fuss over him and appreciate him the more. Once through the door, he has forgotten again. We must, however, not be so unbending. It is, of course, a universal human characteristic. A man returns, after hurtful experiences, to his old self, to many of his old, not necessarily admirable ways and habits. This is a manifestation of the stability of his personality, his genetic pattern. If it were not so, men would probably not be men. The same Taras Shevchenko, whose despairing verses were quoted earlier, wrote joyfully 10 years later that not a single element in my inner self has changed. I thank my almighty Creator with all my heart and soul that He has not allowed my horrible experience to touch my beliefs with its iron claws. But how do they manage to forget? Where can the art be learned? No, writes M.I. Kalinina, nothing is forgotten. Nothing in my life will come right. It gives me no pleasure to be as I am. I may be doing well at work. Everything can be going smoothly in my home life, yet somehow endlessly gnaws at my heart, and I feel a boundless weariness. You will not, I hope, write that people discharged from the camps have forgotten it all and are happy. Riza Lesutina. They tell us we shouldn't remember the bad things, but what if there is nothing good to remember? Tamara Pritkova. I was inside for 12 years, and although I've been free for 11 years, since then I simply cannot see the point of living. I cannot see that there is any justice. For 2 centuries Europe has been prating about equality, but how very different we all are. How unlike are the furrows life leaves on our souls. We can forget nothing in 11 years, or forget everything the day after. Ivan Dobryak, it's all behind me, but not quite all. I've been rehabilitated, but there's no peace for me. There are not many weeks when I sleep peacefully. I keep dreaming of the camp. I jump up in tears as somebody takes fright and wakes me up. And Bernstein dreams of nothing but the camp after 11 years. For 5 years I myself was always a prisoner in my dreams, never a free man. Coppola fell ill 14 years after his discharge, and in his delirium he was back in jail immediately. Camp and cabin and ward are words our tongues cannot pronounce at all. It's always cell. Shavarin. To this day I cannot look calmly at German shepherd dogs. Julpenyov walks through a wood, but cannot simply breathe deeply and enjoy himself. I look at the pine trees. Oh, they're good ones. These two, not too knotty, hardly any trimmings to burn. They'll make neat blocks. How can you forget if you settle in the village of Miltsevo, where nearly half of the inhabitants have passed through the camps, most of them, it's true, for thieving. As you approach Ryazan station, you see that the fence is broken and 3 stakes are missing. Nobody even repairs the hole. They seem to want it like that, because the Stolopin cars stop exactly opposite the stop. But they still do. They stop here to this day. The Black Marias are backed up to the gap and the Zeks are pushed through it. This is less awkward than taking Zeks across a crowded platform. You are asked to give a lecture in 1957 by the All-Union Society for the Dissemination of Ignorance, and find that the order is made out for corrective labor colony number 2. a women's division attached to a prison. You go to the guardhouse, and a familiar cap appears at the Judas window. You walk with the education officer across the prison yard, a shabby, dejected woman. Women keep greeting you with obsequiously before you can greet them. Now you are closeted with the head of the political section, and while he entertains you, you know that out there they are driving women out of their cells, rousing the sleepers, snatching saucepans from those using the individual kitchen. Off you go to the lecture, and look sharp about it. They round up enough to fill the hall. The hall is damp, the corridors are damp, the cells are probably damper still, and the unfortunate women laborers all through my lecture cough. Loud, heavy, chronic coughing, short barking coughs, tearing, grasping coughs. They are dressed not like women, but like characters of women. The young ones are as angular as the bony old women, and they are all worn out and wishing my lecture would end. I feel ashamed. How I wish I could dissolve in smoke and vanish. Instead of these achievements of science and technology, I want to cry out to them, "Women, how long can this go on?" My eye immediately picks out some fresh-looking, well-dressed women, some of them even wearing jumpers. These are the trustees. If I let my gaze rest on them, and do not listen to the coughing, I can get through the lecture quite smoothly. They listen eagerly, never taking their eyes off me, but I know that they are paying no heed to what I say, that it isn't the cosmos they are interested in. It's simply that they rarely see a man, and so are looking me over carefully. I start imagining things. Any minute now, my paths will be taken away and I shall have to stay here. And these walls, only a few meters away from the street I know well, from a familiar trolley bus stop, will shut me off from life forever, will become not walls, but years. No, I shall be leaving shortly. For 40 kopecks, I shall ride home on the trolley bus, and there I shall eat a tasty supper, but I must not forget, they will all be staying here. They will go on coughing like that, coughing for endless years. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good day.